Oh, once I get it, there we go. All right. Had a little bit of a mix up there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2, season 3, episode 2 of Retake. We're back once again. We're going to be talking about week 2 of the LCS here. We're going to be taking a look at some games that excited us this week. We're going to be talking about stuff that let us down. We're going to be talking about exciting picks. We're going to be making predictions about the future, and then we're going to be talking about the patch coming to the LCS. My name is Alex Shinkari Erdenberger. I'm here joined today by VicSharp. Wow. This is the first time I'm saying your last name out loud. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself then? Probably should practice this.
That's fine. Yep, I am VicSharp Watney.
Yep.
It's great to be here. I'm excited for this. This is something different for me, so I can't wait.
Yeah. So first I'd like to talk about the news. Obviously, big news this week is that week 3 of LCS is going to be moving to patch 7.2. We got lots of changes to some very relevant champions. Lulu got some changes. Gragas got a little bit of a change. Nidalee got some pretty significant changes, and she's already been on the cusp of being good. We got important changes to some important items. Got Edge of Night getting changes, Duskblade of Drekthar, and a bunch of other ones. A lot of support items getting changed. And then we also got the introduction of the Warwick rework. So try saying that 10 times fast. Warwick rework. Okay.
I'll let you do that one.
All right. So with that out of the way, we're going to move on to our second segment. This is going to be a little bit. There's going to be a little bit more meat to this one. We are going to be talking about the series of the week. Now we're going to talk about our basically our favorite series from this week. We have one. Usually we have one favorite NA, one favorite EU.
Except you stole mine from EU, so I had to pick a second one.
Yeah. I mean, we did have a lot of pretty good games from EU today, so I'll start us off. Let's start over on North America. I'm going to talk about FlyQuest. Definitely talked about these guys a lot last week. Return of the Kings, as I like to say. A lot of those C9, Cloud9, OG Cloud9 members returning to the Rift. And
Cloud9 all white,
yeah.
You know.
Cloud9 except white and yellow as opposed to blue and white. These guys have been doing very, very well. I was very impressed with their game against it was CLG. FlyQuest versus CLG this week. I knew that. I rehearsed this. FlyQuest was doing a very, very good job against CLG this week, who historically has been a very, very good team. So I was surprised to see them doing so well. A lot has to be said about High and his shout calling, and also like he's been doing 4-1 split. The team has been doing a lot of 4-1 split pushes and putting him on mobile champions, and that has been working out for them very, very well. Another part about this series, Xsmithy is also doing a pretty good job. His KD wasn't as impressive as you'd like to see. I don't really want to talk about it because his game on Kha'Zix was not very, very good. But what his good part was how well he was controlling the game and just putting a lot of pressure on Moon. Moon was a jungler, especially last season, who didn't really show up, and this season he's doing a lot better. But how much of it is Moon being good, but more so like his teammates more of covering for his mistakes. I mean, we saw his game on Rengar, but like Rengar is just an amazing champion, and we see a lot of people who pick up Rengar just doing very, very well. Xsmithy was definitely doing a very, very good job by stealing camps away from Moon, putting pressure on him in the jungle, and also keeping up with warding and destroying wards and stuff like that. So props to Xsmithy, props to High in that game. Both of them doing a very, very good job. Across the pond, I want to talk about Misfits versus G2. That was an impressive game. But I think that Misfits started to get like just a little bit greedy in game 2, especially with that Kog'Maw pick, which I wasn't too impressed with. Sure, Power of Evil didn't die, but when you have a Kog'Maw against like when you have all these other things that are open to you, like, is it really that? It didn't seem to really mesh well with the team, and on top of that, like the picks that the other team had gone up in order to pick against it seemed a little just greedy, like the Ivern, the Poppy, and then the Jhin to follow. Like there's a lot of things that can just CC down the Kog'Maw to make it easier to jump on top of and get onto. That didn't happen during the game, but it's still something to be looked at. Game 3, G2 just steamrolled the rest of the game. They had one death. Expect is probably been reported for feeding, because he not only is he the only death on the team, but he was first blood. So
that feels bad.
Yeah,
that hurts.
That's the worst one. So Vic, tell me about what your favorite games from this week were.
I'm gonna go with the other CLG series that was played, C9 versus CLG.
Yeah,
I think this series really, it showed that these two teams are championship contenders.
Yeah.
CLG had the slow start, but kind of as you mentioned in their FlyQuest series, they started to ramp up some. Xmithy's playing very well. Darshan starting to play very well. And obviously everyone knows the C9 hot start, the 3-0 at this point. And, game 1 went, I think, the way people expected this whole series to, with C9 just kind of dominating. Contracts continued to play amazing, 5-0-3 on Kha'Zix. CLG's bot lane continued to kind of struggle to get out of lane in any sort of relevant position.
Yeah.
Partially due to Smoothie played amazing on Tahm Kench. I don't think that is at any point arguable, because he was just saving pretty much anyone and everyone on C9, helping them make map rotations very quickly. He just kind of did it all. But game 2 kind of showed the series I was hoping for, and it showed C9 start to crack. This was the first loss they took with their starting 5. And it was on the back of those two players, Xmithy and Darshan.
Yep.
Trundle got rolling. He just got kills and confidence against Impact. And now we've seen a few times this Trundle-Nautilus matchup kind of going away from the Nautilus.
Yep.
And then Jensen just struggled to make any impact on the game. He had arguably his worst game of the season. CLG ended the game in 32 minutes. Cloud9 got 1 tower. That's domination for this meta right now. But game 3 for me, that's my contender for game of the split. Like, hands down right now, that's my NA game of the split. Because 49-minute back and forth, that was an explosive game. C9 took the lead at about 25 minutes, and you thought, oh no, this is over. They got to 5K ahead. And then CLG just kind of made the small plays. They made the catches. They clawed back. And that's when you got the feeling it was going to come down to one fight. And I don't know about you, I loved that one fight. Impact just kind of saved the game for C9. He had a beautiful Shin ultimate. He allowed Jensen time to get into the backlines, start doing Katarina things. C9 took down 3 in like the blink of an eye once everyone got into the fight. Yep. And then they just took down CLG. It was really a wonderful game and truly the best we've seen from NA, I think, so far. But in EU, I have to go with UOL H2K. This is arguably the hottest team in Europe right now against the perceived best team in their group.
Right.
And it went back and forth like that game should. The gold lead was under 5K pretty much the entire series. Yep. In every game. ULL won the game 2-1. They only led in gold for 18 minutes. That's how close this series was. But we saw something that doesn't happen to Yankos that much in Europe. And it was he got out-jungled. Xerxes just did very, very well playing Ivern in game 1. And he just kind of kept Yankos in check. And that seems to be H2K's weakness. That's what they have to do. But really, UOL as a whole, Vizichachi, Exile, they just kind of beat up on their counterparts. It might be one of the worst performances from H2K in the series that we're going to see for a while. Vizichachi was so quick with his Shin ultimates. UOL just was on the same page with that. They were going ham as soon as that ability was up. Between Xerxes and Vizichachi, they died twice in game 1. And they had a total of like 35 kill participation between them.
Yep.
So that's an amazing stat. But game 2 sticks out to me in the series because it's why H2K is a feared team. It's why there's someone to be worried about. They were able to play controlled. They were able to play their game. UOL got 1 tower and 1 dragon in the only game of the series that went sub 40. That is H2K's game. But when UOL gets to go back and forth, gets, the EU Clown Fiesta Twitch chat type of game, that is their game. They like fights. They like aggression. They like chaos. When they busted onto the scene, it was chaos style. And I think that's still UOL at heart. Vizichachi on split pushing, the rest of the team getting to fight. That was what Game 3 was, and that is who UOL was, and that's kind of why they were able to take down this series.
Yeah, I agree. And something to be said about both of these games is that, especially in EU, is that the big thing to talk about is about both teams kind of patience and both teams kind of respecting their opponent. Because when I talk about Game 1 of Misfits versus G2, a lot of the things that we talk about is just like Misfits just like waiting for their opportunity, being very patient, not trying to dive in and get too aggressive, because G2 is a team that's very, very high skilled. They can punish people for very easily making those kind of mistakes, you know. It's the same thing with UOL and H2K. Both teams, H2K wants to go into these things, just be very patient, very reserved. You know, they don't want to give UOL the game that they want, right? They want to play on their own terms and move forward with that strategy.
And I think that's a hallmark of EU, really.
Yeah.
They like that more control. They're not NA where you're going to have 40 kill games. They're not necessarily Korea where you're going to have sub 10 kill games.
Yeah.
But they do like that kind of middle ground.
Yeah. And they're also not going to have the, what was it, the season 4 CLG game or season 3 where like First Blood was at like 30 minutes into the game. That was funny. Wasn't that the age of Monte Cristo, the coach?
I think so.
It might have been.
I think you are right.
Where he went on stage with the spinner. That was great.
Win one game, give fans false hope.
Bring back Kobe for his Jungle Amumu. Oh yeah. Speaking of Jungle Amumu, we're gonna move on to interesting picks. Hooray! We're moving on to our next topic. We always see pros trying to counter the meta with their oddball picks. Sometimes they're just trying to get in that weird pick that no one's really expecting to try to get that weird win. So today we'd like to. So right now we're going to talk about some picks that maybe got us excited, or maybe just kind of went, So
that's for sure.
The very, very obvious one was Camille this week. And it's not because oh well, Camille is like the most banned champion. She's the best champion in the game right now. Why is she an oddball pick? Oh yeah, that's really easy because Gate from Echo Fox played her as a support. Because I mean, why not, right? Yeah.
That's the worst part.
Yeah, that's the worst part. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And the problem is I don't know whether to boil it down to a problem as the support like meta right now, or to boil it down as like the problem with Camille. And it's probably a mixture of both, because arguably if you had put her up against Alistar, who very well can punish, melee supports, especially with a lot of his abilities now, or even against a Janna, who can very easily punish like a melee support, she wouldn't have gotten picked as support. They would have just put her top lane. But since they're playing against Malzahar, who literally has nothing and can't do anything once Camille has jumped on top of someone besides like, you're silenced.
Oh, Voidling. Woo!
Ooh, a Voidling. Ooh, a Voidling. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. But like, I mean, I'm sure you have a definitely a better oddball pick than just Camille as support.
I mean, I don't know. I think it was interesting, and I think it shows for Echo Fox. There's the rumors that they've only been scrimming Delta Fox.
Yeah.
Rick Fox has said they like to keep scrims in-house.
Yeah.
You almost wonder if this is what that outcome is now, is they have these kind of off-meta supports, or like off-meta positions for meta picks.
Right.
So I think it's interesting. But yeah, no, my oddball pick was from Splice. In Game 2 against Vitality, we saw a Mordekaiser mid.
Yep.
It wasn't just Mordekaiser. He actually went mid lane. This is something we see from Splice every now and then. They were the only team that played Kled at Worlds. But we haven't seen any of Mordekaiser since his busted rework back in Season 5. Yeah. When he was like 93% banned at Worlds. It was something stupid.
As an 80 carry, mind you.
Right. And it was a counter pick. Vitality picked Katarina in that first phase of pick phase 2. But I don't know about Mordekaiser as a counter pick.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And for this game, it worked. I don't know that it worked because of the counter pick or because of Mordekaiser. I think there's that very weird play that made Reddit where the Vitality jungler was more concerned about killing Mordekaiser than taking the dragon.
Yeah.
So maybe just an unfamiliarity with the champion. But the dragon control, his ability to stay alive in fights, and just his ultimate, it helped. I'm not going to say they were the reason Splice won. I'm not going to say Mordekaiser's the next counterpick to Katarina. but it worked.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely see it. I mean, he has the shield that heals. Yeah, a lot of his abilities have self-healing. He's very good for punishing people who come into the melee range. And Katarina likes to be in melee range. So you think like, this'll work. I probably wouldn't take it to solo queue unless you are the best Mordekaiser NA. I mean, I would sooner
play enough Mordekaiser to get that title?
Are there?
I don't know.
Is there a Mordekaiser one trick out there just like hiding somewhere like in the woodwork? Like a mysterious I'm Tyler 3, like Are you actually searching it right now?
I am actually searching this because I'm curious.
Oh my god. It's like, this is like that time where people were like, oh yeah, Kassadin's so broken in the mid lane, no one counters him, and then just like Faker was spamming Tryndamere in the mid lane, like in Korean solo queue.
I have to guess there is like one person playing Mordekaiser top, because there's a like 55% of Mordekaiser games are top.
Yeah, I mean, that has to be right. I don't know.
I don't understand.
I don't think we should stay on this for too long.
No.
Camille was support, and we had a game as Mordekaiser. Both of them worked somehow, and you know what? I don't know anymore.
Good for them.
You know what?
Good for them.
Yeah. Then we're gonna jump to our next topic. Our next topic is something that's very near and dear to a lot of our hearts, especially to a lot of us college kids who have gone through getting that D on that report card and having to go home and get it signed by dad. And, he looks at you in the eye. He says, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Oof. Those words.
So we're going to talk about maybe there was a team this week. Maybe there was a specific champion pick. Maybe there was a player. Maybe there was something that just let us down this week. And we're going to go ahead and talk about it. I, per se, am kind of disappointed in Team Dignitas. They had their matchup against TSM. Game 1, they were looking really solid. They were doing really well. They were playing to the objectives well. They had a nice team comp. They were playing against TSM pretty well. Game 2, they decided to get greedy and go no tanks. And Someday got camp top. They fell behind. And, just what happens with that team composition happens. If you don't get that lead early on, the tanks will outscale your damage and you don't do anything anymore. So you hope to find a 3-on-1 against a Poppy or a Lee Sin who's now built like, I don't know, a dead man's plate and has like a gajillion health items. Like there's nothing really to do there. And they lost their momentum in game 2, and then game 3 they kind of tried to go back to that kind of comfort. Someday went on to Maokai, who's a really good comfort pick for him. It's not the carry champions that, we're used to seeing in NA, and especially from Someday and Ray from this team. But, like, it was still kind of shaky, and TSM just rode that momentum from game 2 to victory, and that was a little, upsetting for me. Vic, why don't you tell me what upset you this week? What disappointed you?
I agree wholeheartedly with the disappointment towards Dignitas. I think if you hadn't mentioned it, that would definitely have been mine.
Yeah.
But there is a team I am probably more disappointed in, and it's Fnatic. Because, this year coming in, this was going to be the revival of Fnatic.
Right.
They had this all-EU roster. Most of these guys had played together previously. Caps is this promising challenger mid laner. He's going to come in and shake up LCS.
Yep.
And it hasn't.
Yeah.
I can give teams like Dignitas, Liquid, Immortals, these NA teams, I can give them time. They've got Koreans. They've got new players. It takes time. This is an all-EU roster. I cannot give Fnatic the same time.
Right.
This roster had the potential to click from day one. Soaz amazing coming in here. Maybe the return of Soaz, give him new life. He played pretty bad last season.
Right.
And he's continued to just kind of play so-so.
Right.
This is the game they played this week against Giants. Yes, Giants is looking better.
Yeah.
I think this is a better Giants team than anyone anticipated when you saw them on paper.
Yeah.
But they're still probably going to finish in the bottom of their group right there next to Origin. Yeah. You can't lose a game to that team and expect to be a top 2 team.
Yeah.
Not with the way G2 is playing, not with the confidence that sometimes overconfidence that Misfits is playing with right now.
Right.
And that's just why I'm disappointed in Fnatic. This roster had the potential. This is EU, so I can use that word. But
there's that P word.
But they're just not playing up to it, and
Yeah.
I can't afford them the same time with this all EU roster.
Right. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to say, like, oh yeah, Fnatic and OG, they're not looking too good this year. Like, especially when Season 4, these were like the best. This was the best team ever.
EU pride.
Yeah.
Fnatic blue and Fnatic yellow and Fnatic white back then.
Jeez. I mean, I think it's more upsetting about Origin, mostly because, like, it seems to me like Sven and Mithy was that whole team. Like, that's what it seems to have gathered out of that. Because, like, the second...
With Origin, though, they had the roster changes. I can't feel bad when on paper they did look like the worst roster.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it just hurts because the second Sven and Mithy lost, like, you know, left the team, you know, we saw, like, the rise of the G2. They moved to G2, and, you know, G2 has been doing amazing.
Apparently, Sven and Mithy are just the best players in Europe. Wherever team they go, woof.
Yeah. All right. All right. So we are going to move on to segment 5. Hopefully this gets us a little bit more pumped up, a little bit more excitement. We're going to be talking about our predictions for this next week and what's got us hyped. Our next topic is going to be making predictions for the future. We're going to be talking about matches that you guys should be watching in the coming week, and make predictions about their outcomes. I have predictions for 2 games this week. I have one is going to be FlyQuest versus Dignitas. I think this is I think I need to stop myself from doing this in the future because I usually pick a team and then that's all I talk about. So Dignitas and FlyQuest are like my 2 favorite teams right now, and watching them, and personally, this is more of a personal thing for me. I honestly think that this is going to go to 3 games. I'm sort of hopeful, but I think Someday is a little bit better of a top laner than Balls is, and if they get a little bit
Korean D2.
Yeah, okay. So where is it? Yeah. So if I think if Dignitas is able to funnel some resources into the top lane, and Someday is able to play a little bit more safe and not get caught out and camped as much as he did with TSM, he should be able to do a fairly good job. But for the most part, like, looking at a lot of those other lanes individually, I don't know if Keen can beat High, and then Lemonation and Altec have been doing pretty well. This definitely a little bit better than a Laud and X Special. As much as I love X Special, I think he's gone too many seasons being like, I don't want to retire with this being my legacy. I don't know, man. You know, sometimes you just gotta go. Yeah. I love you. And I totally remember you getting first blood at All-Stars at, like, Season 3. That was awesome. Your Jana play was sweet, and then, like, your game against Curse in, like, Season 3 when you were playing Thresh and you flayed Jarvan out of his EQ combo. Dude, that was amazing. But, like...
It's Season 7.
It's Season 7 now, bro. Okay, sometimes kings just gotta fade away. You know what I mean? But, I think if the one game does come out, it's because Dignitas might be, if Someday is put on, like, a carry or just a very heavy counter pick and just pops off, then yeah, they're gonna win. I honestly think that, like, they're gonna get a Someday backdoor like they did against CLG, and they're gonna win the game through that. Is something. Across the pond, we're gonna talk about Splice versus Unicorns of Love. Both of these guys are looking really good, and this game, oh my god! So both of these teams have the players that like to pick oddball champions, and if I'm looking forward to, like, an Urgot versus a Nivea game, this is the game to see it. Because Vizicachi and Wonder both like to pick really oddball champions. Vizicachi brought out that Poppy like a few seasons ago. That was awesome.
Old non-reworked Poppy.
Old Poppy that looked like she got her face smushed. Like, just, ugh. God, okay. I'm very happy that rework happened. Poppy was not a good champion to look at. But what you call it? Yeah, Wonder has also picked Kled this season. So who knows? Maybe we might get, like, a Kled versus Darius top lane. That'd be sweet. Even though
long as they don't pick Kled into Rumble again, please.
Please, no, don't do this to me. All right, so those are my 2. Actually, I need to give a prediction. That's what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Come on. We got to hold you accountable.
I didn't write it down in the script. I forgot. So I think this is going to be another 2-1 game because Splice is also looking pretty good. They do have less games on their belt, but in comparison to Unicorns, who's 3-0, and Splice is only 1-1. You can make a comparison and say like, oh, Unicorns beat H2K, and Splice lost to Ace 2K, so by that rule, Unicorns is going to win 2-0. But I still think Splice still has the team that can still maybe take a game off of Unicorns, but I still think Unicorns is going to come out and win it. They've been doing very, very well this season so far. So tell me, what games are you looking forward to this week?
I mean, again, I think we have the same mind when it comes to EU, because you kind of stole mine again. But
Great minds think alike.
Looking through the NA matchups this week, it was actually really hard for me to find one to get excited about, because there are some awesome matchups. The return of CLG TSM, the one you've talked about already, FlyQuest Dignitas. But I think the one that's going to surprise people, I really do, I think it's going to be C9 Echo Fox.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people look at this, no, C9 2-0.
Right.
Echo Fox has been starting to play with a little bit of confidence. They've kind of started to get rolling a little bit. They took down FlyQuest.
Yeah.
That's got to say something. Some people would say, oh, Camille's support really allowed them to do that. But they won game 3, like, fair and square. It was straight up smash fest. And, I think they'll have something up their sleeves for this series. They're probably very favored to win against a stumbling Wicklid team. So they're going to come into this with a very good record.
Yep.
And I think they're going to put up a fight. I do think C9 wins this 2-1, but I think it's a lot closer than people expect. I think it's going to be closer to Cloud9 CLG than it is like Cloud9 TSM.
Right.
After looking through the games in EU, I know I kind of ratted on them earlier, but I've got to look forward to Fnatic Misfits. Right. Because this is Fnatic's chance to prove me wrong. Prove why people should believe in you again. Yes, they're 1-1. They beat Giants in the end, but they haven't looked good. A win here against Misfits would be massive, not only for the confidence, but maybe just for their season. Get it rolling something. Misfits with one downfall, maybe overconfidence in this matchup. They may be coming in, oh, this is Fnatic. They lost the game to Giants. I mean, we're going to take this with ease. And maybe they play a little dumb and end up dropping the series. But I think Misfits are just too good for Fnatic right now. Right. And as much as I want to see it be very, very close, I think Misfits win 2-0.
Right. I agree with you for the most part. Like I was gonna actually talk about TSM versus CLG. Like that's a historic matchup. That's one a lot of people are going to be watching. But I was going to talk about that originally. But like I don't know, CLG hasn't been doing so well. Like they've been
neither team looks themselves.
Yeah. That's kind of why I'm not super hyped about it, because it's not really, it doesn't feel like a TSM versus CLG game. It feels like a Curse versus Velocity. That's what it.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to say Velocity. That's really an insult. Sorry to all those Velocity fans out there, but I really didn't like Team Velocity. Or like
that rumor with Double Lift coming back. That seems like something TSM's missing. That's why they don't seem to be themselves. They just look lost. Bjergsen's playing so. Yeah. Their shot calling past like 20 minutes has looked poor. Yeah. This isn't the same CLG TSM matchup of past.
I mean, we could probably go into length about this. I mean, I definitely can't because I hate Wild Turtle. That is my personal opinion. And I just, there was a time where he was interviewed and he was like, hey, why did you flash over the wall into 4 members of the enemy team and die? I was bored. Yeah, okay. But besides that, we're going to change the subject. Segment 6. We're going to move into our segment of the week. Today we're going to be entitled Patching You Up. We're going to be looking at the new patch.
I didn't bring my first aid kit.
Did you bring your angel medical stick that magically heals people?
Wait, this isn't Overwatch?
Yeah, this is. What are you talking?
Wait.
What?
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 Are we on the record? No, whatever.
So today we're going to be looking at the new patch coming to LCS. We're going to briefly discuss what we think is the most important change to competitive League of Legends going to be introduced at patch 7.2. Being a support player myself, I'm really looking forward to a lot of these item changes. Most importantly, I am looking forward to the changes to Redemption and Ardent Sensor. Redemption has been an item that I was first really excited about, but then as I saw its applications, I started to get more and more just like, okay.
Ooh, jungler building it.
Yes. Oh, we have a jungler building it. And like, if it just made it easier to just put a support in the bottom lane. And Vic can't see it, but I'm doing some heavy air quotes right now.
Oh, I have the stream off to the side.
You do?
I'll see you in a couple minutes.
So I'm doing some heavy air quotes. It's because I don't really see Malzahar or even sometimes Zyra, and especially not Camille as a true like run-of-the-mill like support. When I saw like Redemption and I saw like, oh, okay, so this is very good for like a Braum or a Thresh, you know, just so you can have sort of a healer on your team without needing to, you can have that sort of tanky kind of bulky kind of guy on your team that doesn't really have healing and still have a way to keep your team in a team fight for an extended period of time. It sacrifices some tanky stats for it, but in the end, you know,
you become pseudo tanky.
Yeah, you can become tanky in the fact that like, oh, he's right about to die. Oh.
And it does damage.
And it does damage. Yeah, I mean, why not, right? The other item I wanted to talk about was Ardent Sensor. Once again, this is another item that's been sort of on the cusp. It's been like this close to being like good enough to buy. And sometimes you saw it built when it was like, oh, I need like a 6th item and
6th item karma mid or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But one of the reasons I want to talk about it now is because it now scales with level, so you have that base, and then it gets more and more powerful as the game goes on. This is pretty important for Lulu specifically. The reason I want to talk about Lulu is because Lulu is getting another buff in this patch with the change to her passive, as well as the mana cost change on her Glitter Lance. But this is also in addition to like a lot of other small buffs she's been getting over the course of multiple
She's being
patches.
seen play support this patch. I mean,
she's definitely very, very strong, and putting a shield and a W on an 80 carry means that they're getting a lot of attack speed. I mean, a lot. Like, Ardent Sensor by itself is 35, and then a maxed out Help Picks, not Help Picks, it's a Whimsy, gives like close to, I think, the same amount.
Yeah, it's something similar.
Yeah, it's like, when I first saw that change, I was like, are they serious? Like, they're gonna give attack speed and movement speed on Whimsy? Like, are you sure that's okay? Let me see. Let me see. Whimsy is okay, go away. Jesus. Okay. The attack speed is 45% at max.
Ooh, remind me never to play against Twitch with a Lulu support.
Yeah. So yeah, Ardent Sensor plus a Whimsy means just a lot of attack speed. Twitch is looking really good. That means Ashe is looking really good too. Even you could argue even Varus, Caitlyn, and in some cases Jhin. A little bit less with Jhin.
Yeah, attack speed isn't the best, but
I mean you get some movement speed. It's nice. Get some movement speed on some crits, but that's definitely what I'm looking forward to. Vic, why don't you tell me some important stuff you think that in this patch change?
There's 2 in this patch 7.2 that kind of really excite me for what's coming up. I love the lethality changes.
Yep.
I think lethality was undervalued before,
right?
And we've started to see that. We've seen the Varus lethality build coming up on 7.1 that's just going to get more prevalent with these 7.2 changes. I do think it is kind of worrisome is it's going to make champions like Jace that were already strong extremely busted for a couple of patches until Riot fixes it. But I'm really excited for the AD pool in general because Jin's now going to kind of go back to that lethality build.
Right.
I think we've already seen Varus. It's just going to get more prevalent. But I really think this gives Lucian the chance to come back into the meta.
Yeah.
It's something we haven't seen at all, really, after some of the nerfs really dropped him out of meta. But he's gotten a bit of quality of life buffs. He got a Q and a passive buff, I believe, on 7.1. So add to that the old lethality build of Youmuu's Lucian that rose to popularity for like all of a month. I think it really stands to come back. And with move speed being so critical right now, repositioning yourself, I think Lucian's going to be the sleeper pick to watch in 7.2.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
The other thing I'm really looking forward to is how this jungle now starts to play. You know, we didn't see any nerfs to Rengar or Kha'Zix, unfortunately, this patch. So I think they're still the kings of the jungle.
Yeah, I agree.
But we see new Warwick. We have heard mixed reactions on him. We've heard it's a good rework, but is he really overpowered?
Right.
We saw some Gragas buffs. You mentioned the Nidalee buffs were really important. And then they continued to kind of tweak the jungle. They delayed the spawns. They increased the damage on Ancient Krug and the Gromp. And I think those changes kind of allow the tanks to kind of sneak back in. I think you'll see Gragas come back a little bit. Maybe some more Hecarim or just some of the tanky champions that we haven't seen with Rengar, with Kha'Zix, with Lee Sin running wild. I think Elise profits really well from this change.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see how the pros agree with this 10-ban system where, you know, we see a lot of games where Rengar, Kha'Zix are banned, and Lee Sin has, like, become the de facto third pick.
Yeah.
Is that still going to be the case? I don't think so. I think it becomes a lot more situational, and it's got me really excited.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you that like, Lee Sin is... I want to say agree with you. Let me change that. I think I've just kind of submitted to the fact that like Lee Sin is always probably going to be in the meta in some way, shape, or form, just because he is very solid. He goes with a lot of different team compositions, and he is very solid in the early game, and that means that if you're playing like a late game composition, that means you can help your character scale to the late game. If you're playing an early game composition, that means you can push forward your advantages more and more in more positions. Like he's just a very versatile champion that's probably never going to be out of the meta unless they nerf him again.
But you know, I think you would agree, he's the far and away third best jungler right now.
I mean, I don't think definitely right now.
And I think that's going to change. And that's what I'm excited for. I love Lee Sin. I like watching good Lee Sins.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like the same three junglers with a fourth when there's bans as often as what's happening. I mean, we may see Camille jungle because of these.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it's mostly like a testament to Rengar, because like, you know, Rengar is just too good to let go. And like we talk about, like, especially we're talking about this in EU, like the current meta right now is there's a bunch of champions that you just don't let through. You don't let through LeBlanc, you don't let through Kha'Zix, and you don't let through Rengar, and you don't let through Camille, right? There's some debate on which champions you can kind of let through. Like we've seen people.
Rengar has an 80% win rate worldwide. Yeah. I mean, come on now.
I agree with you. I'm so surprised that there were no Rengar nerfs, like at all.
They are on PvE. They are coming soon.
Coming soon.
Coming soon.
Soon TM.
When we talk about 7.3 in 2 weeks.
I agree. All right. So with that, that does it for today. I'd like to thank Vic for joining me today. If you liked our show, make sure to follow Official EGF on Twitch. You can also find us on Facebook at Electronic Gaming Federation. We also have a Twitter at Official EGF, and we do have a YouTube, Electronic Gaming Federation. All the links are down below. From all of us here at EGF, thanks to everyone for watching. You can join us next Monday, same time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Be here. I'm looking at you.
I'm watching you. Just a cold, hard stare into the camera.
I'm done.
Done. I'm Alex Shinkari. That's VicSharp Watney. And thanks to you guys for joining us. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.